Start.
This is the Enterprise stent, and we've already taken it out of the hoop, but just remember that when you are going to be taking it out of the hoop, the one thing you want to do is you want to grasp the sheath and the wire at the same time. If you do that, you will not have any problems. If you don't, you can deploy the stent prematurely. So as long as you've done this, there's really nothing.
And you flush it, or you just?
We will flush it once we need to first begin to hub this out. So the stent is in here. The lighting is okay, but I don't know if you can see the stent. Now so that I can move it and you can see it a little bit. See that? Mm-hmm. And so that is the Enterprise nested in there. And this catheter now is going to act like this sheath for me holding that stent on once we get this in. So the idea with this, with the Enterprise, is to... Oh, there we go. When we finally push this through, we're going to want this hubbed out very tightly against this.
You have to hold it, right?
Yeah, but we're not going to do that yet. First, what we're going to do is we're going to pull this back, and this is how we're going to flush this. I need some.
So first you flush the RHV.
Yes.
Before you hub it.
Yeah. It should be full, but and so we actually put this. We put it halfway in, and what we're going to do is we're going to have we're going to have it come out the backside, so you'll see it will flush out the back.
But in real case, it will be flushing anyway, the RHV.
Yeah, it will. You're right, it will. But this is, I guess, the way that we.
I think you need to remove. Is this a true way?
Oh yeah. I'm locked up. Yeah. We get so much, and I can turn on the flow too. So now here we go. So now see, it's coming out the back, and it will. There it goes. So now it's flushed. And you can see it dripping out there. So let me turn this on too, so we have the fluid going. So this is our flow model. We have the stent. We've basically put the microcatheter into near your deployment zone. Oh yeah, I know that's going to put that on there, isn't it? Everywhere. I'll leave that on. Tighten this down a little bit. Okay. So one thing to keep in mind with the stent is that you're going to want to crank this down pretty hard. You're not going to hurt the stent, and the idea is that you want this hubbed as tightly as possible. So keep an eye on it, keep some forward pressure, and then crank this down. If you don't, you will deploy that stent. It will begin to flower out right here in the transition zone. Yeah, and so this is the key point right here, is to have this tight up there. So I actually tighten that pretty tightly. And
now you should see it should fill now with saline, right?
Right, but I've got this so tight that it's not going to come much more, but it already did because I flushed it. And then I pushed it up. If I loosen this, it should
drip. Then it would come out of here.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. So now the next step is, if you see on the wire, where is it? Here it is. See this white? Yes. This is the area that's going to allow you to know that you've pushed enough of the stent in to where you can remove the sheath. So what we're going to do is we're going to just introduce the stent, short strokes, until we get to the white area. You can see the stent beginning to find its way through the microcatheter. Where's the white? There it is. It's much easier to see it in an OR with lights on. And one thing to keep in mind is you don't have to have fluoro on now, because your stent, it's not going to be too far. So this is a way to do everything off of fluoro before you do. So now you've reached this point. So now the idea is to loosen the TUI and just, oh, you got it in there. Where are you? There we go. There. Taking it off. Right. Tighten it, take the sheath off, and now at this point, let's get my computer.
You keep the sheath, right?
Yeah, because I mean, there's rare situations where you say, it's the wrong angle or something, and I'm going to resheath this, and maybe I decided I'm going to jail or something instead.
So you can do that, right?
Oh yeah. Resheath, pull it back out. As long as you don't deploy the stent, you can do whatever you want. Okay, so here we go. You can see our and I'm going to, let's get this a little closer.
And the only microcatheter that can be used,
There's the Prowler Select Plus with the 5 centimeter tip. And that's what we have here. So Flora would go on now. Oh, I'm not getting any traction. There we go.
So probably once you go with the white marker. Then.
Yeah, once the white marker goes on, that's when you would have, and so you can see this beginning.
So you are distant to the aneurysm, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
And the one thing we're not going to be able to see here is that there's a deployment zone on the stent. So the stent's sitting right about here, and you know the marker times are pretty hard to see. But what you can see is that where the stent is going to lay out is we have a big marker band that shows you where the
Right,
where
which
that's
showed
going.
us on that wire with those.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
And so that's what you would line up. So I would think that it's going to be
So you have 4 markers, correct? You have the nitinol, the proximal
Right.
marker band, then the stent,
Right.
then the distal stent, and then the you have the
It's really
distal-
kind of 3, yeah. You have the distal marker bands that are pretty easy to see when it's compressed down, but once it begins to flower, they kind of
Right.
begin to fade away. We have the long stent positioning marker band. That's the long, and that's where you put right over the neck of the aneurysm. And then you have the proximal fence, and that's it. And you'll also see the distal wire. So I'm actually let's move this back just a tiny bit. Yeah. Yeah, they don't let us, it's really interesting, they won't let us even use expired product. We have to send these all in and put these stickers on first before they let us do that. So, yeah, so there's your distal wire. We're actually getting close. So this is where, what most people do here, this would be taken off, but I don't want fluid to leak.
That would be the flash.
Right, yeah, and so you probably, is that you're going to want to do something like this, where you have a hand on this and a hand on this, however you're going to do it, but you really need both of these kind of lined up, because what you're going to want to do then is you're going to need to be guiding this and this at the same time. Yeah, because again, you don't want to push this out, right? But you don't want to, if I just pull this back and pin this wire, it's not going to work. It begins to, there's too much tension. So what you want to do is get this lined up and then begin to introduce the stent, and then begin to pull back. And you know, this is the kind of stuff you guys are built to do that I'm not, but you can see I'm beginning to do it. So if you got to here, and again, I can't see exactly where the back end of the stent is, but if you say, you know, I'm too far down, I'm not comfortable with this, then you would essentially begin to push in. There we go, I'm capturing it pretty good.
so push your microcatheter.
Yeah,
You're pulling your wire too.
Yeah, I'm doing both backwards, and so it's a push-pull technique to deploy that the way that you want, and to undeploy. So this is probably a better spot. I'll let one of you try it, and then we've got another one. You want to do it?
Yeah, sure.
Need to hold this.
And I can turn this for you. So this is pretty similar to what you would see on your X-ray, other than the fact that you will not see the marker band. So it's not perfect, but it's a decent representation for what you would see under X-ray. You might want to loosen it a little bit there. I had it pretty tight.
No, probably too tight still. Huh?
Yeah. And you need better tension on that. There you go. Push that out a little bit more. You need to push your wire. There you go. See, now here I would say you're too close to.
So
you want to be furthest.
I wanna do it.
Undo it. So you want to begin to push your microcatheter back in. Push. There you go. And then pull and pull the wire back. You're a little bit. If you want to go the other way, you need to work this wire a little bit more.
It's kind of slippery here.
Yeah. And let me get a towel. We're getting leaky.
And the Enterprise stent comes only in one size, but different lengths,
Exactly.
and can be used for vessel sizes 2.5 to 4 millimeter only.
2.5 to 4. And the reason you can't go smaller, at least on label, touch the